I'm gonna say something a little uncomfortable. If you think that native speakers talk way too fast, the problem is not that they talk too fast. The problem is that your brain has not yet been trained to keep up. The good news is that this is totally fixable. So in today's video, let's talk about ways that you can train your brain and your ear to keep up with native speech. So your main focus needs to be on exercises where you force your brain to find information through listening. This will force your brain to try harder to process what it hears. Because native speakers can process auditory information at breakneck speeds, but you as a non-native speaker are a bit slower. So the rate at which they speak is outperforming the rate at which your brain can process that information. So we need to get better at processing what we hear at a faster rate. This means the most effective thing that you can do is to remove text from listening practice, at least at first. If you ever listen to something only to find it really hard to understand, and then you go and you look at the transcript and realize, hey, I know all of this stuff, then you probably don't spend enough time purely listening. As humans, we are visually dominant creatures. So what this means is if you are reading and listening to something at the same time, your brain is probably focusing a lot more on parsing information from what it's reading. Your brain doesn't need to pay attention to what it's hearing because that's more work it doesn't need to do when it can just get the information visually. So if you take away the text, you take away your brain's ability to lean more on visual cues to process information, which in turn forces your brain to focus more on processing what it hears. So when you approach listening exercises, try to listen to something over and over several times without looking at the text. In most cases, you will find that with each listen, you start to hear more words and you start to understand more. Then when you feel like you can't get anything else out of listening is when I would stop and look at the script. Also, try to watch more content without subtitles. I also personally recommend cranking the volume up when you listen. I'm not sure why, but I find that the volume at which I can hear things in other languages is a lot higher than the volume I can hear things in English. If you watch without subtitles, you'll notice that you spend a lot more brain power on trying to hear what they're saying and actually decipher the meaning. You also need to just get comfortable with not understanding everything and just focus on understanding the gist of things. Now, if this is too hard or you feel like your level is just not there yet, you can still watch things with subtitles, but I recommend that you avoid looking at them the entire time and only look at them when you feel like you absolutely need to. And when you finish watching something, try to go back and listen without the subtitles one more time and see if you can actually hear more. This way, you can use the first watch as a way to understand what's going on and to take a moment to look up or check the words that you don't know. And on the second watch, you should already have a sense of what's going on, and you can use that opportunity to try to hear more of what is being said. The goal with this type of listening practice is not to perfectly hear everything, but just to increase your ability over time to pick out new words and expressions in the spoken language. By practicing this type of listening skill without looking at the text, you will get to a place where you will eventually be able to understand native speakers at the pace at which they speak.